Hi, everyone. This is Michaela Morris. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the VP of Programming for AMA Phoenix. Really excited to welcome you all today to our webinar on unlocking the power of keywords, how to use SEO to optimize your content marketing. We have a packed agenda today. It's going to be great. We'll get a lot of great information. So just to kind of run through an agenda, I'm going to welcome in Jen Woods, who is my friend and colleague at Banner, who will be leading this webinar. And then we'll have some time for some Q&A at the end. So if you have questions along the way, as Taylor mentioned, please feel free to put them in the chat and we'll address them at the end. And then stay with us for the end of the webinar because we have some what's next for upcoming events and some really exciting things that we have coming up for AMA. So without further ado, I'd love to introduce Jen Woods. She's the Director of Content and Social Media at Banner Health. We work together very closely at Banner and are both, we are cat moms. So we share a lot of cat videos and photos back and forth. But Jen is going to lead us through today's webinar. So without further ado, Jen Woods.
Good morning, afternoon now. Thank you for joining. I'm really honored to be here with you today. And I'll give you a heads up on what I'm going to be presenting. It is very 101 content. So if you're someone who has a fairly working knowledge of SEO and keywords, this is probably a little bit more junior for you. This is sort of for people that really don't know much about SEO, don't know much about keywords. Another two things that I'll add to it. This is very much framed towards Google and about ranking for Google and not necessarily doing anything paid, really on an organic sense. And I will caution that if you know anything about Google, every day, every hour is different, and they're not transparent what kind of changes they make. So this tends to sort of be our best practices that no matter what are going to help. And I always like to think of what is your end user dealing with, whether or not there are little nuances that change day to day that Google is going to kind of trick in their secret sauce. I'm less focused on that and more about what are the big blocks that are kind of the tried and true practices that people should be using. The other thing is that, of course, each day we know AI is taking a bigger spot into what search looks like. And I'm not really focused on that in this presentation. We're still kind of finding out the space of where AI plays for search. And I will talk about some of the tools that I know that are out there, but again, not a focus so much for what I'm going to talk about today. So starting out here with sort of an introduction to us, keyword research is going to be how you're going to identify what topics and phrases are relevant to your audience and are worth targeting in your content strategy. Basically, you want to ask yourself, why is this important? And it's because using the right keywords is going to drive organic traffic. It's going to improve your search engine rankings. So where do you show up on Google? And connect you with your target audience. So the objectives of what I'm going to go through with you today are going to be how to conduct effective research, how to use those different types of keywords in your content strategy, and how to align your content with user intent and search behavior. So what is your user looking for? Where are they in the funnel? Are they just beginning to get information? Are they ready to make a purchase or to research different options? Always going to be different. And again, a lot of different ways that we go about that. Understanding keywords. That's the first place we're going to start. What are keywords? They're going to act as that bridge between your content and the search queries of your audience. There's a few different kinds of keywords, namely short tail keywords and long tail keywords. Short tail keywords, they also call those head terms. Those are going to be those broad search terms that have high volumes. There's going to be 300,000, 500,000 searches a month, but you're competing a lot for them. So some of those examples would be something like shoes or digital marketing. They're very broad words, but they're going to be more difficult to rank for. They're going to attract an audience that has a wide set of interests, but varying intent. They might be looking for information. They might be looking for brands. They might be looking for prices. You don't necessarily know what their intent is at that point, but a lot of people are going to search for them. Then you have your long tail keywords. Those are going to be usually longer phrases, maybe 3 or more words, and they have much lower search volume. Might only be 10 searches a month, a couple hundred searches a month, a few thousand. So there's a lot less competition. So some examples there, you're looking at best running shoes for flat feet, how to start a digital marketing agency. And these are going to have higher conversion rates usually because they match that specific user intent. So by the point that you're getting into these longer keywords, you know why your user is there, what they're looking for, and they're more likely to purchase, to book an appointment, to take an action. Starting off with those long tail keywords, those are going to be, again, the specific multi-word phrases. They're more descriptive. It's going to reflect more specific user intent. The majority of the examples I use are healthcare here, so feel free to think to your own world how they would apply. Short tail keyword here would be flu symptoms. Lots of people will say that, type that in. They're looking generally for a lot of reasons. Maybe they think they have the flu. Someone they know has the flu. They're looking to treat the flu. A long tail keyword, much more specific, would be early flu symptoms in children under 5. So again, different intent of why you're searching one versus the other. Not to say flu symptoms won't get you there, but if you're writing content that's targeted to someone who has a child under 5, you're more likely to get them with that second keyword in addition to the first. Other examples I gave on here, breast cancer versus the BRCA gene mutation testing for breast cancer risk. Healthy pregnancy versus safe medications to take during pregnancy for headaches. So it's not to say that both will not be in your content, but if you have a more specific user intent, you might have multiple pieces of content. You might have more than one type of keyword named in there. So what are the benefits of these longer tail keywords? Like we said, they're going to have lower search volumes. There's less competition for ranking. Flu symptoms might have thousands of articles competing for that ranking, but the early flu symptoms in children under 5 are going to have a lot fewer competitors, and that's going to make it easier to rank. So if you're searching for safe medications to take during pregnancy for headaches, they're looking for that actionable advice. They're more likely to engage. They're more likely to convert. So by focusing on longer keywords, you could better align your content with the specific concerns. And here it says patient concerns. But again, if you're selling cars, it's someone who's looking for your type of car ready to buy. Improve your chances of ranking, drive more relevant content and traffic to your site. So same thing, if you have content up that is using keywords that are not attracting what you need, they're going to come to your site and they're going to leave. They're not going to stay. They're not going to keep working their way down the funnel. Keyword volume is going to help you understand what keywords you want to prioritize based on what your audience interest is and what the competition is. So it's going to refer to the number of searches that a keyword gets over a specific period. Usually that's measured monthly. High search volume means there's strong demand around it and it's valuable to create content for. And those should be prioritized for broader reach, but you're going to get that higher competition. Low volume niche keywords are going to target specific audiences and you're going to rank more easily in search results. So the perfect balance is between those two. You're not going to have all of the high volume. You're not going to have all the low volume. You're going to want a little bit of both so that you have a well-rounded strategy. Underneath here, I mentioned a few different tools that some people use for measurement. Google Keyword Planner, SEMrush, you're going to hear a lot about. It's what we use. And personally, I recommend it to people if they can pay for it. There are some free options and some paid options, but overall, it's a pretty affordable tool that really helps people with actionable guidance. Ahrefs and Moz are two others that I know people use, but the majority of what I'm going to refer to or show screenshots for here will be SEMrush. So keyword volume comparison, here's a chart I put together again that's going to show what types you've got, the short versus the long, examples, what is the volume, what is the description. So you could see again, when you compare one versus the other, flu symptoms is going to have a high volume. You're going to have over 100,000 searches a month. It's a commonly searched term about general flu symptoms. The odds of ranking in the top 100, the top 10 are extremely, extremely small. Very high difficulty to get there. But healthy pregnancy tips, high volume again, same sort of thing. That might be 50,000 general advice. Breast cancer signs, high 60,000 frequently searched for. So now you're balancing that side of the equation with the other side. Your long keywords, you're going to look at early flu symptoms in infants, safe exercises for pregnancy for back pain, the BRCA gene mutation, a lot fewer people searching, but you're more likely to get the people that you want for where you want them to be. So this will be discussed a little more later on, but when we look at our strategy and how we build our content, the top level of the funnel, you're looking at blog and social media. I call this window shopping a lot. It's the idea that you might not know you're looking for something and you stumble upon it. People don't necessarily think that they're sick, that they need health content. And then they find something tangential, maybe it's a behavioral health topic, or it's something kind of trendy that is related to it. One example I could give that's a fun one for people who watched Love is Blind. I learned we were about a year and a half ahead of the curve because they were talking about mouth taping. And we have a blog post about mouth taping and not a safe exercise if anyone is thinking about it. So someone sees that article and then they start reading, okay, I was interested in this because I snore. So they click a level further and they read about snoring. Then they say, oh my gosh, this might be a symptom of sleep apnea. What is sleep apnea? I didn't know about that. How would I find out if I have that? And they keep moving down. But if we just started out with sleep apnea, people typically don't start there unless someone told them. They come in another way. So having all of these types of content, starting from the most general to the most specific, is ideally the way in which you want to bring somebody in. Kind of joke also that unless you work in healthcare, I hope that if you have a stomach ache, you're not searching pancreatic cancer symptoms. You're usually starting out with something else that says, why does my stomach hurt? Could I have food poisoning? What is the stomach flu? And you're working your way down. But by the time you get to something, if that is one of the 10 reasons you have stomach pain, you're going to be well positioned to find that content when you're ready to meet it. If you just start at the bottom here, that's not likely. So we want to make sure, again, that you're ranking in all these places for the different pieces. Okay. So comparing long versus short tail keywords, and again, this is a screenshot from SEMrush. So it's the type of thing that if you're using the tool, this is what you could see. For volume, you're going to see the average number of monthly searches over the last 12 months. So here my comparison is shoes versus best running shoes for flat feet. People searching shoes is 550,000 searches a month. People searching best running shoes for flat feet, 12,100. Then you have trend next to it, and you could see on here, what does that look like? So is it going up and down? Some of the trends are going to be common sense. We know for us, more people are searching the flu this time of year than are in the summer. We know people are searching sports physicals when you get to that back to school timeframe. But if you're in an industry that maybe isn't very seasonally driven, it's helpful to know what kind of trends are happening at different times that you could get ahead of it. If you don't have your content ready, but you know there's a steep uptick, you want to make sure you're looking at what those trends look like. You could see again, some of them go up and down. Some of them are going to be tied to an event, something that happened in the news. Keyword difficulty shows how difficult it's going to be to rank organically in the top 10. So here where keyword difficulty is 100% on shoes, chances are you're not going to fight that one. If you want the content, but don't expect that you're going to rank in the top 10 for that. But best running shoes for flat feet, the keyword difficulty is only 29. So if you have well-structured content, uses keywords, you have a good chance that you could rank there. So it's important, again, to be looking at it and kind of play all these factors. And then CPC on here is going to be your average price in dollars that a user pays to get a click on an ad in Google Ads. So same kind of a thing, you're going to pay 68 cents for that click on shoes, 48 cents for that click on best running shoes for flat feet. We're going to go into some of the other things here about intent and then SERP, but these are the main ones I wanted you to see here. SERP is going to be those unique results that you see on Google outside of those traditional organic listings, which could be rich snippets, review stars, featured snippets. People also ask knowledge panels, those other areas. So you could see in SEMrush how many of those you could rank for. And then if you clicked this, it would open a screen to show you in real time what that looks like. Keyword gap analysis. This is one of my favorite things to teach people about. I think it's really cool and it's exciting. This is going to be how you could identify keywords your competitors are ranking for, but you're not. So why would you do this? You're going to create fresh content that's going to fill gaps and attract more visitors. You could either find out, we don't have a page on this, so we need it, or they don't have a page on this, and therefore we can be the one to have it. So it's going to help you reveal those opportunities to either find out Again, topics you haven't covered yet, they're relevant to your audience, or we've got this and they don't. So how do we lean into that? Again, SEMrush has a beautiful tool that does this. It's going to help you find those keywords your competitors are ranking for by examining their top performing pages and content. It's going to look for keywords that drive significant traffic to their sites, but are missing from your strategy. Reveal those opportunities by uncovering topics that are relevant to your audience. And by targeting these untapped keywords, you can create fresh content that fills the gaps and attracts more visitors. So you'll see it zoomed in a little more here, but here's an example that I pulled up for Us versus Dignity. So if anyone on this call works for Dignity, hi. We've got what you're looking at here. It'll show you a little bit of a Venn diagram. You could even put 5 competitors. You could pick people in other states. You could pick something that's not exactly your market, but just see what they have, and it'll show you where you overlap. So how many of these keywords do you share in common? And then it's going to call out missing versus weak and what your opportunity is. So on here, we could see appendicitis at the time when I made this. We were not ranking for appendicitis. There are 450,000 people a month searching for that. So then my next responsibility is to say, do we have content on this? And it'll tell you what your page is. So if you have a page, it'll tell you, but you're not ranking in the top 100. So do you either have to enhance your content or do you need content? Then when you look underneath here where it has all of the details, you could see shared, missing, weak, strong, untapped, unique, which is really cool. If you're putting in, say, 5 competitors, you could start to see where you rank on things. So what are the keywords we have that they don't? What are the keywords that they have that we don't? What are the ones that we have, but we're weak, they're strong, and it gives you a lot of opportunities to look. You could export, you could slice it and dice it. Really great functionality to have if you're looking to see what your next steps are in your content strategy. I'll pause for a moment. Has anybody brought in any questions yet? Anything before I go too much further?
Yeah, actually, one just about this analysis. They were asking, is this keyword gap analysis generated by SEMrush, or do you make this in-house?
This is an SEMrush, but
Okay.
you have to know what you're starting with. So you have to pick what your competitors are. And I run the gamut because it's also a really clever way to come up with target audiences that we need more content for. Men's health is really tough for us. A lot of times, as people know, women are kind of, if you're in a relationship, women are driving men's care. They're the ones saying, go to the doctor, go get this looked at. So men's health tends to be a lot more about how do we find those nutritional opportunities, the workout opportunities, the content that maybe fits that better. So I will go on and put in things like Men's Health Magazine and see what they're doing really well for it to give us ideas for blogs. I would have never in a million years known that nitric oxide supplements were important, and it became one of our top posts this year. There's also a steroid that's called Tren. It's not legal, but there's a ton of search. A lot of people are reading that men's health content. So even though I wouldn't consider them a competitor to what Banner does, it gave me ideas for content that we should chase. What do we need these articles for to get them into that next part of the funnel? So everything here is screenshot directly from SEMrush. I believe other tools offer this, but they should be telling me for shilling their tool. It's a really clean, easy way to do this. And I love it. Very easy. You don't need to know much to do it. So seed keywords, what are they? They're going to serve as the starting point for your keyword research to help you generate more specific and targeted keywords. They're going to be broad terms that define your niche product or service. So if we started out with broad foundational keywords that could be expanded into these more specific phrases, health would be one. You're like, we're a health company. Okay, nutrition is a good seed keyword. Fitness, a good one would be exercise. Diet, one would be weight loss. Disease might be diabetes. So you could see it's kind of your big block and what's your next level block. So here's how you're going to look at doing that. You're going to think about those main topics or themes that are relevant to your business. These are the core concepts that are going to find your area of focus. What are the words your target audience would use to search for your content or services? Now, this is something that takes you getting out of your own head and putting yourself in your user's head. One of the biggest push-pull conversations we have when we work with doctors is they think as doctors, they don't think as users. So they will want to use these highly clinical terms that people don't know to search for. I always tell everybody, think about how you search on Google. What do you put in? Think about if you're teaching your parents how to look for something. I always say, if my parents don't know how to use something on their computer, literally write down the words you said to me. Why is there a red dot in the top right of my screen? You don't have to know what you're in. You don't have to know what you're looking for. When you're looking for Thai food near me, that's what you type in. You don't use these specialized, what is a restaurant that serves Thai food in my neighborhood of Arcadia? You're going with Thai food near me. So be thinking about your business and what are the words that people use? Start out logically. Before you think of things yourself, what are the first things that come to mind before you start digging into it? Your biggest blocks. What do you sell? What do you do? And then working your way down as you're doing more specific content. Is it a new location? Is it a new offering? What is the biggest words you could think of, the least specific terms? So these are the ones I just went through again. Your general broad terms used for brainstorming. You have your basic and your expanded. So think about what is your industry and then what is one facet of it. So you could see each of these: mental health, big block; anxiety, little block; disease, big block; diabetes, little block. So you need to know that you're searching both of them so you could start your brainstorm. That's how you're getting your seed keywords. Now, how to use those seed keywords to expand your keyword list. So if you start out with a seed keyword like healthy eating, it's going to give you more ideas like healthy eating plans for diabetics, healthy eating on a budget. It's going to give you all the types of posts that you might want to write content about. So once you have these seed keywords, you could put them into keyword research tools and they will generate a list for you. So SEMrush will suggest these long tail keywords, variations, and questions. One of my favorite learnings, which feels so common sense, but it was a great tip, the order in which your words appear makes a difference. So flu symptoms is different than symptoms of flu. Signs of flu is different than flu signs. So when you're writing, you need to think about how to vary your keywords. What are the ways that people talk about things that just land in a different order? You're saying the same thing, but you put your words in a different order. Questions are going to be important, like a journalist. Your who, what, where, when, why. For health, Row is thinking, what are the signs and symptoms? What are the causes? What are the risk factors? What are the treatments? How do I get diagnosed? What are the types of questions that someone wants to know about your product, about your business, about your topic? So these seed keywords are going to help you build that more comprehensive strategy. If we just said our topic is healthy eating, you could have hundreds of blog posts on that, hundreds of pages, and it's giving us the ideas of how do we rank for healthy eating by creating all of those different pieces. It could be for different audiences. It could be different for different geographies. Just depends on what you're looking for, but you only need one word to start, one phrase, and they will suggest other ones for you to create your content. Then you move into your target keywords. These are going to be your primary keywords that align with your content strategy and your business objectives so that you know you're driving relevant traffic to your website. Back in the day when people were starting out with SEO and they just wanted to shoehorn a keyword in 200 times, they didn't care who came to their site. And it's really great if someone comes to your site, but it's not so great if they don't live in your market. They can't use your products. They can't use your services. So you want to make sure that you're focusing on keywords that are going to attract your desired audience. If you have restaurants that are only in the Phoenix area, it's really cool that you show up for a blog post about boba tea, but if no one can come to your restaurant and buy it there, is that the traffic that you're looking for? So you want to make sure you're picking these keywords that match your audience's search intent, and they're relevant to your products, your services, your information. You need to consider these factors again. Maybe we want to rank for something like restaurants in Phoenix, which is still really broad, but maybe we only rank for Thai restaurants in Arcadia. You're thinking again about what is the intent of my audience. So when you're choosing your keyword difficulty, would you rather rank for a lot of keywords that might be very small search, but they're relevant to your business goals? Or do you want to try to go for those big ones that maybe are not going to get people who can use your services? So you want to use these keyword tools to analyze your potential words and then figure out who you're competing with, what are the trends. So again, target keywords, specific terms you want to rank for, like nutritional supplements for heart health. So seed keywords are your broader keywords, target keywords more specific. Seed keywords are going to generate ideas for content. Target keywords are the actual terms you're optimizing your content around. So left bar, you see here, health is your seed keyword. Benefits of a plant-based diet for heart health. Fitness, best workouts for seniors to improve balance. Mental health, coping strategies for anxiety in children. You're starting with your big word, then you're narrowing down to a more specific, who is it for and what is it about, to help you rank and sell your products, your services in those larger areas. How do you align your target keywords with your business goals? So for example, if your goal is to promote heart health awareness, having your target keywords like exercises to improve heart health are going to drive traffic to those relevant resources, helping you meet your objective. All of your target goal keywords should directly support your business goals. So you need to know what your goals are. These are not separate. These are not my site search goals. You have your goals for your site. You want to increase traffic? Are you driving conversions? Are you enhancing your brand visibility? You need to know what your brand goals are, your business goals, translate them into your content. You should not be creating content that does not directly support your business goals. If you have a bunch of posts that just rank for these, try to rank for top volume keywords, but none of those people are local and you're a brick and mortar business, does not help meet your business goals. So you want to make sure your keywords are aligned with your campaigns, your product launches, educational initiatives, anything that is strategically focused. Different parts of your site will have different intent. As I mentioned, Banner has a blog that we get about 25 million page views a year on. It is top funnel content. If you need this information, I don't care where in the world you are, because you might pass it along to someone who lives in our market. I'm not that worried. It's just flood that top funnel with as many people as possible. But by the time you're moving down the funnel, it's very helpful that you live in our target market, that you're in one of our areas where we can help you. We could offer you a doctor. We could sell you a service. So be thinking that you need content for all parts. You need that very broad and that very specific so that you're getting people when they're ready. I like, again, to use cars as a good analogy. So if you think to yourself, you might not be in the market for a car. You see cars on the road that you like, and maybe they're in the back of your head. If someday I got a car, I would need an SUV. These are SUVs that I like. These are brands that I like. These are brands I don't like. You're sort of gathering that information. By the time you need to buy a car, where are you going to start? By that point, you might go, oh, now I'm interested in an electric car, but I don't know much about them. So you're going to Google electric cars. I've heard of Rivian. Is Rivian an electric car that I want to know about? Maybe it is Rivian versus Tesla, something like that. You have some brands you know. Now you're thinking, okay, I'm fairly certain I want to buy this type of a car. Is there a dealer near me? Do I know what types of cars they have? Do I know what the cars cost? Do I know that I could see what the pricing is? Is there a location I can go visit? So each part of that is going to require different content. And you need to be thinking about, do you have content to support all those different intents? If you fill everything at the bottom and assume everybody's ready to buy your car at your dealership, you're missing everybody researching on the top. If all of your content is generic, you're missing everybody who's ready to do something more specific. So you need to know that you have content for every part of the funnel. That takes time. It takes money. It takes resources. But if you're smart about it, you're going to build something strategic. You're not just going to be picking, someone told me I should write about this. I heard about this. You're not just throwing topics at the wall. Semantic keywords. These are related terms and phrases that are going to help search engines understand the overall theme of your content to help you rank higher. They go beyond those exact keyword searches, focusing more on user intent and content relevance. So say your main keyword is diabetes management. Semantic keywords, picture them as branches on a tree. They might be blood sugar levels, diabetic diet, insulin therapy. That helps provide that well-rounded discussion. They also help keyword stuffing, as I said, which is you don't want to put the same keyword 30 times in one post. You're not going to just keep writing blood sugar levels, blood sugar levels, blood sugar levels. You might have blood glucose when you measure your blood sugar. So you want to make sure you're varying what are the topics you're talking about in there to ensure that you're not repeating the same keywords over and over again. So some other ones, healthy eating, the branches could be nutrition, balanced diet, meal planning, calorie intake, whole foods, flu symptoms. You're going to think about what are those symptoms specifically: fever, cough, body ache, sore throat, fatigue. How do you come up with the branches off of the tree to make sure you're varying your content? Here in SEMrush, again, really cool feature. You can put in your topic and it will spit out the top 10 ranking pages and what are the words they mention. So anytime I'm going to write a page, I'm going to look this up. The first one here you could see was about, I'm trying to remember where that one started, but I'm guessing that one was probably AFib because I'm looking at what we were talking about here. And it had innocent heart murmurs treated. Actually, I'm gonna take that back. That was gonna be heart murmurs. So it's gonna show you all these other keywords that are gonna be really good to include to make sure people, when they search those, they find your page. The second one was Kawasaki disease. So same thing. If I don't include the phrase children under 5 years of age, I'm not likely to rank because everybody in the top 10 is probably using that phrase. So I want to ensure that when I'm writing, I'm framing around this. So one of my pro tricks that I would tell people, ChatGPT is your best friend. When you have this list of keywords and you ask it to write you an outline, so you say, provide an SEO optimized outline for a top funnel blog post targeted at fill in the blanks, and ensure these keywords are included, and you put them in. Another time I use that is I'll take something we've already written and find which ones I'm missing, and then ask it to rewrite. You have to read what it writes. Sometimes it's insane. I'm not going to tell you that it's going to be perfect out of the gate, but a lot of times it'll give you really creative ideas of what you're missing to fill in the blank, and it'll save you a lot of time. So just looking again, what are the words you need to include? Before the AI days, this was very helpful for me because it would enable me to realize that there was an area we weren't talking about. So say I didn't know that Kawasaki disease impacted fingers and toes. It wasn't something I was aware of. When I look at these 10, the suggested keywords the top 10 have, and I see fingers and toes, I would go into Google then and read in the top 10 pages, why is fingers and toes mentioned? You'll find things like 30 minutes, 12 years, random things that if you didn't know what they were, you will have to find out why are they being mentioned. And that will help you to drive and compete better with those top 10 pages. Search intent, you've heard me mention this a lot, and you're talking about that funnel. This is going to help you to create content that directly answers the needs of your audience to help improve their experience and your search rankings. So the main types here that I would talk about are informational, navigational, transactional. There's also one called commercial, but I'm just going to start with these three. Informational, they're seeking information or answers to questions. Some broad examples are, what are the symptoms of the flu? How to manage stress? How to start running? Navigational intent, they want to find a specific website or page. In our case, Banner Health Login, CDC flu guidelines. They know a brand, they know someone specific that has information that they want. So further down the funnel. Transactional intent, they're ready to take an action. They want to make a purchase. They want to book an appointment. They want to sign up. They want to receive your emails. So those are going to have action-oriented words. Flu vaccine near me. Buy a heart healthy recipes book. So they have an intent in mind. They want to buy a car. They want to find a Thai restaurant near them. Just thinking about there's an action verb or there's something, a near me, or you have a buy, a sell, a get this done, oil change, thinking about, again, what is your service? What is your option? How do you align your content with search intent? You're going to tailor your content to match the intent behind their needs. So mapping your content to that appropriate stage ensures you meet their needs at every step. So informational, very top of the funnel. These are going to be those educational in-depth articles. They're blog posts, they're frequently asked questions, they're guides that answer common questions. They're not specific, they're not talking about what you offer. So if you read a blog on Banner Health, we're not going to go into what are the services that we offer at the urgent care clinic by us. We're not going to talk about that. We're going to be talking about a condition. So something to the effect of stomach aches in children under 5. And it might be 10 reasons your child's stomach might hurt. When you get to the very end, it'll say something like, if your child's experiencing stomach pain, click here to find an urgent care near you. And that way they know to get to the next phase if they're ready. If they're not, they might just want to read more information. Navigational intent, those are those landing pages you have that people are looking for something specific. So Banner Health login, we want to make sure that if they search that, they don't have to go 5 pages deep beyond that to keep clicking. They should show up on our page where they can log into their account. So if you think if you're a bank, same kind of a thing where someone gets that login. If you are a salon and someone says book haircut appointment, that they can get right to that booking page. We don't want them to be stuck in the informational. So you want to optimize those landing pages, your homepage content, your site navigation to make sure users can quickly find what they're looking for. Again, how often have you known that you needed one specific thing? How do I cancel the subscription? And they make you go through 15 pages and you're just going, oh my gosh, all I wanted was to cancel the subscription, and you're angry. It's going to impact how you think about that brand if you can't find what you needed at that moment. Transactional intent, you need to design your content so it facilitates action. Product pages, appointment scheduling, service signups. Do you have those available, or does someone go 10 pages deep and then they have to call someone and they have to leave a message? And maybe that is your business model. But if you have a way to not do that, how does your content tell people what to expect? Implementing keywords and content. So whenever you're building a page, you want to make sure that you're doing it so that it's for SEO on one side, user experience on the other. It involves naturally incorporating those target keywords into all areas of your content. So on any page, these are some of the fields that you would have to fill in. Browser title is going to be what shows up on Google. So you want to make sure your primary keyword is in that title to signal to search engines and users that's what it's about. Make sure it's engaging and relevant, but it uses the keywords naturally. So one example I would give there could be flu symptoms, early signs to watch for in children. One fun thing that I will tell you is that what you type into your content management system is not what Google is going to put up. They will pick what they want. They will name your page anything they want to. People will think they put a great title in and Google will change it. So a lot of times, something that you'll see in a tool like SEMrush, they could tell you what Google is already putting as your title. So if you're optimizing a page, you might as well just go with what Google has. There's no sense in renaming it. If you make a title that is 200 characters, Google will cut it off. So you want to make sure that your keyword is in here, but it's not going to read the same as your header. So you don't want your browser title and your header to be the same. So one example I might have here then is how to recognize early flu symptoms in children. I took the same words, but I put them in a different order. So your first one is your H1, usually on a page, that's your header. Then you have your subheadings, H2, H3, you're going to break up your content. So you never want one giant block of words. You want to make sure you're using these headers throughout so they answer questions. What are the symptoms of the flu? How do I diagnose flu? How do I treat the flu? Don't just have that living in your content, break it up into blocks, use those subheadings so people can scan down and find what they need and Google can pull from that. In your body copy, you want to use those words naturally. You want to balance that you're using them, but you're not forcing them in every sentence. Again, that's that old school, someone would throw a keyword in 50 times on one page and every other word was the keyword. Google does not like that. Users also do not like that. So you want to use synonyms. You want to use those related phrases that we called semantic keywords. So you're not repeating and you have more depth. Again, your tree, your branches. Then you have a meta description. That is what shows up again, theoretically on Google, but Google will pick what Google wants. So you want to include your primary and secondary keywords to summarize it, and you want to attract keywords. The worst thing people can do here is use filler keywords. So if you say things like, we sell ice cream, gelato, and more, And more, you just wasted 2 keywords right there. You could have filled something else in. It doesn't have to read in a sentence. It can be bullets. It could be part of a phrase. It just should be concise and engaging and tell people what to expect on that page. So if we have spot early flu symptoms in child, learn when to seek medical care. Helpful tips to protect your family during flu season. You don't want filler words. You don't need to say, click here to do this, learn this and more. Take out any words that don't specifically have a searchable word or phrase in them. So meta descriptions, keep them short. Make sure you include your word. If your primary keyword is not in your H1, your header, your browser title, and your meta description, you're missing out. It needs to be in all of those and your body copy, but they should not be the same. One of the worst things people do is they say, oh, well, we just made one meta description. We copied it to every page on the site. That is a huge no-no. So if you're doing that, you're better off not doing anything at all. All of your titles need to be unique. All of your headers need to be unique. Your body copy needs to be unique. Meta description need to be unique. Another really nice feature in SEMrush is that they could tell you if you have 2 pages or more on your site that are competing for the same keywords. And that's what they'll consider cannibalization. We'll talk about it a little more in a coming slide. But you don't want to fight against yourself to rank for something. So if you created 5 pages that all are trying to rank for the same product, you're hurting yourself. Keyword stuffing, we just talked about that. You don't want to overload your content with keywords in an unnatural way. It's bad for your users. It's bad for search. So focus on writing for humans first and let those keywords fit in naturally. If you know you have 10 keywords to fit in, you want to balance that with that quality informative content. Search engines are going to prioritize context and relevance over how many times you use a word. So think to yourself, if I didn't work at this company and I wasn't told by my boss that I had to rank for these words, if I read this page, would it be useful to me? Does it feel like something that answers my questions, or does it just feel like this jumpy, disjointed mess of words? If it feels like a jumpy, disjointed mess of words, it's not good. You want to go back and fix that. So how do you measure your performance at this point? You need to obviously assess how well is my keyword strategy work. Pick these specific performance metrics that are going to tell you how well your keywords are driving results. So tools like Google and Adobe are going to help you measure organic traffic, whether you're using Google Analytics, Adobe measures that. That's going to monitor the amount of traffic organically your website's receiving. So if you see your traffic going up, your keywords are successfully attracting visitors. Another one is SERP rankings. You can see how many of those results you're showing up for. So more of those are going to lead to more visibility, more clicks. You can use a tool like SEMrush or Google Search Console to help you identify those. Then conversion rates. You're going to evaluate your conversion rates associated with your keywords. Are visitors taking those desired actions? Are they signing up? Are they purchasing? Are they contacting you? This is going to help you determine what keywords are not only driving traffic, but generating tangible business outcomes. Again, Google, Adobe, any of those that you could set up conversion tracking can help track that. So if you imagine in the real world, a lot more people are going to search for that very generic topic. A lot fewer people are going to search that very specific topic. So you're going to expect to see lower traffic on those conversion pages because not everybody's ready to buy your car. But a lot of people are ready to research electric cars. So you want to make sure that you're thinking about, someone would love to go in and say, look at how many keywords we rank for. We're number 1 in so many of these. But if they are not tied to those tangible business outcomes that are important to your business, they don't matter. People will sit there and say, well, why do you think this is a good page? It only gets 10 visitors a month. But if you find out that 2 of those visitors converted, that's a really good page. If you have a page that 5,000 people are on, but no one moves on past that, they search for one thing, they may not have even gotten there. It could be a 0 click where they saw the answer on Google, they never clicked to your page. So if at the end of the day, your measurable result is how many people, again, booked an appointment, purchased a product, signed up for this webinar, that is where things need to make sense. So if someone above you is saying, well, I want to know why this page doesn't have a lot of traffic, but you could show that you're getting those business outcomes, that page is serving the right part in the funnel. You still need those other pages that will drive people there that do get the large number of visitors. But if you have people just going on a page and leaving, you don't want a lot of those. You want to know that people are going in smaller numbers down further and further and further. Common mistakes to avoid: overuse. Search engines may penalize content that unnaturally repeats keywords that will knock you down lower in the rankings. Focus on writing naturally and using those keywords seamlessly in your content. User intent. If you ignore user intent, make sure your content aligns with what they're looking for. Is it information? Is it a product? Is it a solution? Like we just talked about, content that attracts users might have traffic, but it won't keep them engaged. It won't drive those conversions. Looking at trends, SEO is dynamic and the trends change over time. If you're basing your content either on trends that were from 10 years ago, 2 years ago, you might not be caught up with what the algorithm is doing. Like I said, these are very basic tips that have kind of stayed static all throughout. We're going to be adapting for AI now. We're adapting for zero click. But if you were still writing and putting a keyword in 30 times in one page, you're not up to date. Same thing also is that your content needs to update. This is very hard to do if you don't have resources. People write a page and then say, I don't have time to keep updating it. I need to create new content. But it helps you to check back in and see, like I said, is there a new mention that could be on there? Did something change fundamentally that people are searching now to get there? If you're a restaurant, is there a new food that people are looking for? Is there something that opened up by you that you want to tell people that you're near this? Going back and updating your page to make sure you are ranking for the right words will help keep your content relevant and drive your site. So all these little edits are going to help your pages to do better. So now looking back at what we talked about, we covered these fundamental elements of keyword research about understanding keywords, volume, long tail keywords, gap analysis, search intent, and how to implement the keywords in content. We've talked about best practices in tracking keyword performance and common mistakes to avoid. So the impact of this, why do you want to do this? You're going to shape your content strategy because you're going to align your content with your users' needs. This will help you increase your visibility in Google. It will drive engagements that people are buying your products, using your services. It's going to ensure your content not only reaches the people you want it to reach, but matches their intent. Going to have higher conversion rates, and you're going to have business growth. So what do you do next? You're going to start off by conducting your keyword research using those tools and techniques we've discussed. You're going to regularly update your strategy to reflect changing trends and user behaviors. You're going to integrate keywords thoughtfully into your content, not just throwing them in, and you're continuously track the behavior to optimize your results. What's working, what's not working. I can't tell you how many times I've thought we've made a perfect page. We used all of the keywords, we wrote it the recommended number of words, and it just does not hit. And I look back 6 months later and go, can I make small changes or have to gut it? What's going to happen here? You have to see. You could have a page that is climbing, and then all of a sudden just drops off. And you say, what went wrong? Is it need to be rewritten? And we rewrite things all the time. Or do I need to just add another paragraph of something new? You need to collaborate with your teams. If you have more than just you, if you're wearing all these hats, you could talk to yourself. But if there are other people, make sure that they understand this. Make sure that people writing your content, your marketing people, your marketing teams are telling you when there are new products, when things are changing. You're telling your marketing teams, I see a lot of people searching for this. Is this a product we're going to offer? There's always opportunities to work across the aisle to make sure that they're knowing what you're knowing what they're knowing. And that's everything. So now we can pause for questions.
Wonderful. This was excellent. So one question that came through, you mentioned that you do blogs, but what's your frequency, and are blogs the best ways to start SEO, or is it videos, PR, or a mixture? And with your blogs, are you doing that weekly, monthly? What's your frequency?
So keep in mind, again, for the scale of Banner, we're a large company. And I know that that is going to look different for everybody else, but I will also tell you, we have 2 part-time writers that we utilize who are contract writers. They produce 30 to 35 blog posts a month. Definitely would encourage that if you want to check it out on our site and get a feel for it. We're doing 30 to 35. We publish almost every day. This is a mix of new content and rewrites. When I started, we had just over maybe 200,000 in traffic for the year for that. And then we were about 25, 26 million a few years in. We did not change anything drastically, except how did we start publishing more? How did we figure out what people wanted to read about? Our blogs are conversational. They're very aligned to my overall content strategy. And one of my favorite things that I identified when I started at Banner was I didn't want to do what everybody around us was doing. We know we have to talk about heart health. We know we have to talk about those basic services. But I imagined a space that we fell between a healthcare company and Goop. So it was, if your best friend was a doctor, you're comfortable telling them anything, but they also are credible, because when you look online, you have two buckets. You have the topics you're interested in, but who only knows what credibility these people have? Probably very little. They're on TikTok, they're really into it, but they're not doctors. They really shouldn't be advising us on our health. Then you have health, but it is just heart attacks, diabetes, these very core areas that either you care about them or you don't where you are. We wanted to find that space in between, and it became, how do you research what's out there that people are talking about? How do you find out what topics people really care about, and using the blog as that we can reach you wherever you are? Are you a parent? Are you in your 20s? Are you a senior? What are you looking for and what do you need? Is it behavioral health? Is it sleep content? Is it, again, condition specific? We want to make sure we're reaching where you are. They're very informational. And if you go on there again, you could probably find something for anybody. If you found someone we don't have something for, please tell me who it is. I love that. I feel like there's something for everybody, and you'll see it on Instagram, you'll see it on LinkedIn, and hopefully you'll be more and more interested to keep reading what we have. So that's about 30 to 35 a month. Then for web content, for our budget for what we're doing, we write about 15 new pages a month. Those are your much lower pieces that are very conversion oriented. They're going to be a lot more, this is what Banner offers, this is where you go, this is how you book. And so same writers are doing those. And then I am, as best as the people who have to make these edits can keep up with me, going in every week and optimizing probably 20 to 30 pages, whether I gut something and rewrite it myself, or I add a paragraph, or I change a sentence, just making those optimizations to help things rank better.
Awesome. And here's kind of like a two-part AI question. I know we touched
Sure.
on AI a little bit. So what are you changing in your SEO strategy because of AI? And do you find that there are particular AI platforms that perform better for you in terms of, ChatGPT versus Gemini versus Claude and so forth?
Sure. So two sides of that is, how do I use it to help me with my work? And then how do I eventually start writing our content so it's better suited for AI? SEMrush actually just came out with an AI toolkit, which we don't have yet, but we're going to get it hopefully in the coming weeks. That actually shows how you rank on all of the AIs. How do you rank on Perplexity? How do you rank on ChatGPT? It's going to give you that same actionable advice of what are the keywords, where are you going to fit? And I'm so excited for that, because right now our strategy is baked into Google. That is pretty much it. Where I use AI for myself is topic creation. And if you haven't played with AI enough yet, learn everything gets better with the more you teach it to think like you. The more specific your prompt is, the way you tell it, I like this, I don't like that, you will get completely different answers. I use ChatGPT. We don't pay for it. It does mean that certain times a day I'll run out, and then you have to either get substandard answers or wait 5 hours, but we don't pay for it. So you could get the same thing we do now. Tell them who you are, tell them who your audience is, tell them how your voice is, what reading level do you want to be at? We're 8th grade reading level. Tell it, I'll write and say things like, what are trending topics in health on social media news? And they will give me 10, and I'll say, I don't like those, give me 10 more. And I will do this 15 times in a row and get 3 topics. I will say, we have a blog that performed really well on X, whatever this topic is. what are other topics we could write about that would interest the same audience? It'll give me 8 we've already done, but there are 2 worth looking at. I will take something and say, this is an old post that isn't ranking right now, and copy it in there. SEMrush said that it should be 890 words to match the top 10 and include these keywords. What changes should I make? The readability of this post is awful. What can I do to change that? I don't understand what the sentence means. You know, we'll do this for so many different areas to make sure that things match. I encourage everybody, use it as an extension of what you know. I would never tell someone, just use this and write, because Google knows that. They're smart enough to know what things are being written if it all looks the same. But if you take something and it gives you a building block, I can't tell you how many times we'll look at something someone gave us and go, I can't wrap my head around this. Have it rewrite this for me. And a couple times it won't work. And then the 4th version, I'll be like, that's it. I only need to change 1 word. You could take things and have it write social posts for you. You know, I mean, make sure you're using these tools to help you the way that you need to. But stay tuned. I think this year we'll have a how do we write for AI, but this isn't where we are yet. We're still in the Google bubble.
Excellent. Thank you. That concludes all the questions that I had here.
I'll throw one in there, Jen, before we wrap.
Sure.
Like, I think it was Daryl who asked the question about, like, obviously you lead our blog content, but can you talk a little bit about how we collaborate with other parts of the, so it's, you know, you take that and you can repurpose it for so many other places too.
Okay. So Michaela's on the email side, and she knows that first off, anything that's coming up that she's thinking about, I know that, you know, colorectal cancer month is coming. What do we have for this? A better example would even be breast cancer awareness month, because we're not only competing with health companies, you get an email from the NFL in breast cancer awareness month, which is great. But at the same time, how do you not send the exact same thing everybody else is? So sometimes we'll look at it and say, okay, we need to create something new. We need to create something fresh. How are we thinking ahead of what that's going to be? Who is the audience we're trying to reach? Is it something that is more general or more specific? There are different types of posts. Another area I didn't touch on is that our site translates to Spanish. So while most of our pieces are a one-to-one translation, we have talked different times about, we will write something in English knowing that it was primarily made for a Spanish-speaking audience. One of my favorite ones I think is really fun is about home remedies, and that they said a lot of people are really into ginger ale could fix everything, use Vicks for everything. And we talked about at times, how do we write this content? We're writing in English, but we know our primary audience will be Spanish speaking. So if you know you have an audience that you are looking to target, things are very localized in another language, that's another opportunity for working across the aisle. My job is to make sure that you have what you need for your audience and you're not rewriting the same thing 10 times. Nothing makes me more frustrated than to find out someone wrote a one-pager and printed it, stick in a clinic. We had content on the website. I'm going, now we have these 2 worlds of content that don't align at all. You used probably 2 writers, 2 sets of budget. You should be thinking from the top down, who is going to use this content? And are we all in agreement? We have a bi-weekly meeting, and again, your size and scale will differ, where we're all on the phone and saying, what do you have that's coming up? What do you have for me that you could offer me? What do you need that I can offer you? So that hopefully we're not creating the same piece 8 different ways. We're taking one and scaling it. So I recommend that you, again, whether it is a Teams chat, it's a meeting, it's an email, whatever your best way to work is, they're asking people, what are we solving for? And do we have the content to do that?
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jen. That's my second time listening through it, and I feel like I learn something new every time that that I listen to it. So thank you so much for presenting.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and I know we're close to the hour. We just hit it. I'm going to run through a couple slides if people are able to stay on. We do have a few events coming up that we would love to see you at next week. Our friends at Novlay Community Activators are hosting an in-person happy hour. It'll be at their agency in downtown Phoenix. So Carlos, if you guys saw, he presented at our last webinar. And so he's hosting us and would love to have you if you're able to join. It's on Eventbrite and on AMA Phoenix AMA.org. Our next professional development will be an in-person workshop at the Better Business Bureau in Phoenix. It's on the future of augmented reality and virtual reality in marketing. That one will be really fun. Rami Kala is presenting. He's the founder of Point in Time Studios, and so he'll be sharing about just what the future holds for AR and VR. And probably, the other thing that I want to hit on is our AMA Spectrum Awards. So this is our major, key event at AMA. It's going to be at the Orchid in Phoenix on Tuesday, May 13th. It's a really incredible event. If you haven't been, we really encourage you. Our submissions for the awards are tomorrow. The deadline is tomorrow. So if you're considering or thinking about submitting for an award, this is your time to think about doing it. We have 35 or 36 categories of all different types of marketing. And so would love to have you submit an award, or at least join us as an attendee. We'll have lots of opportunities for networking and meeting other people in the industry. So here, Taylor, do you mind advancing my, oh yes, I forgot I made individual ones on each of these, but yes, hope to see you next week at Novle. And you can keep, sorry, flipping through our event in April at the Better Business Bureau. And then one last time, yep, Spectrum Awards. And then a couple last slides and then we'll wrap up. Just a reminder, in case anyone is looking for a job or is hiring right now, we do have a job board on our AMA Phoenix website. So if you're looking for someone who's, going to be a good fit for your organization, please consider visiting our job board from AMA Phoenix. Next slide, please. And if you're not a member already, we'd love to consider you to become a member. If you would like any more information, I can get you connected with the right person. But, we offer lots of online training similar to the one we did today, as well as other discounts of certifications, networking opportunities, and such. So hope you consider becoming a member of AMA. And then last but not least, this QR code, and I've shown a few, we'd love your feedback. So I know, we would love your feedback from AMA's perspective of like what types of content you'd like to see in the future. I'm building out, programming for the rest of the year. So if you're interested in speaking, or if you know someone who would be a great speaker, or if you have a topic that you really want to learn a lot about, this idea came from a mixture of me hearing Jen's presentation and also knowing that we had some submissions of people knowing that they wanted to learn about SEO. So if you, please, we'd love your feedback. And then I'm sure Jen would also encourage feedback as well. But yeah, other than that, that's all that I have for us today. So thank you so much for staying over a few minutes, and we really appreciate you. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you.